was one of her favorite students. And so when I was born, she just gave me the middle name. And my first name is my grandmother's name. So, which is most people that I meet when they say their name is Frances, like, that's my grandmother's name. And I'm like, oh, me too. So I usually connect with people who have the same name as me.
Listeners, let me translate. She connects with Gertrude and Betsy because they all share the same names. She be hanging out. When's the last time you had a riveting game of euchre, Frances?
I actually used to play euchre when I was in high school.
Oh my God! No,
I'm from the state. I am from the
along with that.
I'm from the state of Kentucky, and I learned how to play euchre in middle school, maybe. And so, yeah, the last time I played euchre was in high school. Thank you.
Oh my gosh! Oh, hanging out at old folks' home self.
Is there anything better than a trip getting ready? Nope. For a long journey where our podcast released a new epi, searching for a fade fiending, a new fixation. Giving this a subscribe is the same sensation. Started with the day ones, they gave us fuel to support the season. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here for a reason. Notification bells, text and friends, all to let you know. Check your Bluetooth, connect, talk your Wednesday night.
Episode 191, The Elephant in the Courtroom, with our guest, Frances Leigh Jordan. Frances, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
You know what? I want to start with one thing. 3 names, 3 first names. What are we doing here? You fancy. You don't even spell Frances. They saw this at the pod intro, so they already see that you spelling that Frances. Where that right there? Let's say, what are we doing there? Can we talk about the name? Let's start there. Where does the name come from? And what was your parents trying to do there? What was going on?
Well, I do have 3 first names, and it actually does cause me trouble. People are constantly calling me Jordan just because they see it and they're like, oh, that's a first name. Let me say that. And it's like, no, that's my last name. Leigh, my middle name is actually Leigh. And it's spelled Leigh, which is similar to Frances, the girl version of Leigh. So Frances, which a lot of people put is is generally. I know we are in a world where gender fluidity, but back in the day when names were assigned by gender, Frances with an I was considered a boy name, like Francis Scott Key, who wrote the Star Spangled Banner, all that kind of stuff. And so Frances with the E. And then Leigh, Leigh, is the girl form of Leigh, Lee, which is so much more popular. So that's why, I'm pretty big about like all 3 names. I don't know. Maybe I think when I started my professional career, I just started using all 3 names. That's literally it. I just put it on everything. But Leigh is the name of my mother. My mother was a school teacher, and Leigh was one of her favorite students. And so when I was born, she just gave me the middle name. And my first name is my grandmother's name. So, which is most people that I meet when they say their name is Frances, like, that's my grandmother's name. And I'm like, oh, me too. So I usually connect with people who have the same name as me.
Listeners, let me translate. She connects with Gertrude and Betsy because they all share the same names. She be hanging out. When's the last time you had a riveting game of euchre, Frances?
I actually used to play euchre when I was in high school.
Oh my God!
I'm from the state. I am from the
along with that.
I'm from the state of Kentucky, and I learned how to play euchre in middle school, maybe. And so, yeah, the last time I played euchre was in high school. Thank you.
Oh my gosh! Oh, hanging out at old folks' home self. And although in high school I had a job washing dishes at old folks' home, great job, free food. Nice people, learned a lot. I don't want to go to one, but I learned a lot.
I mean, if you're in a good one, I mean, they're not the worst things ever.
And you know what? And this was a good one, and I still wouldn't want to go. I felt bad for them, for your peoples, the people you hang out with.
Yeah.
The people. At the end, I always ask, hey, what's your social media? We know with a name like Frances, Gertrude, Betsy, we know all y'all got only Facebook. That's all you got, Frances. That's all you got.
Wow. Wow. This is how this is going to go. I love it.
Great. Yeah.
That's
that's how it's going to go. Okay. How about this then? When we look at it, I thought, okay, she is Frances Leigh Jordan, like the country, like you belong to them. This is your Leigh Jordan. That's, I guess, that maybe that'll help us all remember how to spell it. You belong to France. We got the Statue of Liberty, and then we got Leigh Jordan, all from France. Oh, we got fries too. French fries came from them.
That's funny. I never really. A lot of people ask about the French. I just maybe because I took French. I just never. No, it's a whole country with its whole history. I ain't got nothing to do with that. No, I don't. I just have never been like, oh, France. It's like if people truly don't know how to say it or don't understand it, I might bring up France, but nope.
Yeah. Okay. Well, FLJ, Francis Leigh Jordan. Whichever way it comes out. I'll try not to butcher it too much, put too much emphasis. Francis, I don't want to say that because that E, I don't want to sound out that E there. Francis. We'll see. We got a ways to go. So you from Kentucky, where they make that fried chicken? That's where you from?
That's where I'm from.
Yo,
yes.
I spent a lot of time in Kentucky, up there by Louisville. What? Where are you from? Where in Kentucky are you from?
So I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, and Louisville, which is the correct pronunciation, Louisville.
I've always heard.
We don't, I mean, if you're from Louisville, you got people in Louisville. Louisville's great. I ain't got nothing against it. When I go to Louisville and I forget that I'm there because I hate Louisville, it's a great place to be. The culture is good. The food is actually really good. But I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. The better horse racing track is there at Keeneland's. And it's a nice little rivalry, So I'm a huge sports fan. I'm a huge sports fan. College basketball, number one. I've had to learn to like college football being in Texas for 10 years now. I think, I come from basketball land. And so I just naturally don't like anything except for Muhammad Ali. That's the best thing that's ever come out of the look. I love Muhammad Ali. I have so many of things. Yes, love him. But other than that, you can miss me with Louisville.
Wait, you said you was a sports fan. The baseball bats come up out of there. The sluggers. A whole genre, a whole sport. Like that's synonymous with baseball. Still no.
No, okay, I've been to a lot of baseball. I've been to a lot of baseball stadiums, and yes, great. Louisville, no.
Okay, I'm gonna take up for my Kentucky. I'm riding for my the better Kentucky people. First of all, people from all over the world come down there on May 4th or 5th, I think it is, to watch the Kentucky Derby. Yes. And they love it. Now, what is a draw that brings people from all over the world to Lexington?
So listen, Kentucky Derby, it's amazing. I don't want people go. It's wonderful. The celebrities are there. It's great. Watch game. But the better horse racing, that's every other day. No, it's not every other day because Keeneland only happens twice a year for a month. And it's so much better. It's nicer. Go to Churchill Downs when it's not the Derby, and then you talk about it. This is for people who have no idea. Keeneland is better. And listen, the Bourbon Trail, which isn't just in Lexington, it's also in Frankfort and all. The Bourbon Trail is around Lexington.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that.
When they had the World Equestrian Games, which is like for the very first time, it's never been in America. The first time it was in America, it was held in Lexington because Lexington's more of a horse place than Louisville. It's just the Derby. That's all they got.
Louisville said, man, get that out of here. World Equestrian Game. Even we ain't that nerdy. Get that out of here. Get that out of here. Y'all better take that stuff down the road. Lexington to take it.
I'm trying to educate your listeners. Listen, the University of Kentucky Wildcats is the most important sports thing that comes out of Kentucky. Yeah. That's the most important sports thing that comes out of Kentucky. It's where I went to law school. It doesn't get much better.
You have my respect because you didn't lead with that. You rode hard. See what I said there because we're talking equestrian. You rode hard for Lexington, and you didn't start with that. So that's why you're on the pod because I got nothing but respect. I knew you were going to bring it. This was going to be fun. I'm having a blast already. By the way, this is going to be a great episode. But come on, all right. First of all, there shouldn't be any Kentucky on Kentucky violence on this episode because y'all ain't on the top destination, especially. I'm gonna say I hate to do this because I got a very diverse crowd, but the people that look like you and me, man, ain't nobody trying to go to Kentucky for nothing. So you need to get as much attraction as you can. And then my people over there in Louisville, they treat me so nice, man. I get to couch surf as often as I want. I don't have to pay for hotel rooms. I go to that little casino that's right there at that border with Indiana. Like I think it's like over the border, so it's actually in Indiana, down by the river. I think you know what I'm talking about. I get to dip my toe over into Cincinnati. You know, get to feel that vibe.
Cincinnati.
Come on.
Cincinnati. I love Cincinnati.
Come on.
Got nothing against Cincinnati.
All that is exciting. Lexington, you got the nerdy equestrian games. I can't even spell equestrian. And then you got University of Kentucky basketball. And y'all just lost your coach. So
and Bourbon, we got Bourbon, we got Keeneland, it's all kinds of wonderful stuff. And it's one of the prettiest places in America. Now that is something that you can't take away from Kentucky. The whole state. The whole state is beautiful.
The bluegrass state, for those who don't know, they get down with the get down.
And if you want to get super nerdy, for those who just want to give you something, if you've never been to Kentucky and you're like, listen to him saying there's not places to go, Mammoth Cave, there's this place called Mammoth Cave. It's the largest internal caverns in the world, I think.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
You should take your kids there. If you ain't got kids, you should go there anyway. It's awesome. Yeah.
Wasn't that discovered by a black man?
Probably.
I think so. I mean, we may have to, by the time someone will Google it, put it in the comments if I'm wrong. I believe he's like the first, are they called spelunkers? He's like the first caver. And I think he was still in bondage around that time, but he would sneak down and it's a story. I'm pretty sure it's a black man. But yeah, Mammoth Cave is legit. Yo, the Bourbon Trail is a legit. I hope I got everybody just talking about that. Forget your little stupid town where the rest of y'all listeners are from, and you're like, oh, we got a bar crawl. These people got a trail. We talking city to town, and you can sipping on. That's the Bourbon Trail. Y'all gotta try that. How about this? The Corvette Museum.
Yes.
I was in Louisville.
That's like, especially if you're in Nashville. So it's in Bowling Green, which is like barely an hour from Nashville. It's actually something really, really cool. It's not really that close to Lexington, Louisville, and Cincinnati, but like if you're in Nashville and you love cars, hopping up to Bowling Green is actually a really cool thing to do.
Yeah. How did I do repping Kentucky? Because I know where you were from. But
you did great. You did great. I know there aren't a lot of Black people that are in Kentucky, but as a whole, it's wonderful. The other really big thing I'm going to say, this is the last thing I'm going to say about Kentucky. So thing is Louisville is the Midwest and Lexington is the South. And so that's why we go, yes. When you think about Louisville, it's more like your Indiana, your Illinois, the people from there. Lexington's that Southern gentleman, la-di-da. That's the last thing I'll say about Kentucky.
No, I agree with that. See, when I go to Louisville, I do a lot of salsa dancing. I'm a big salsa dancer, and the scene is popping. Y'all got spots.
It is.
The salsa socials, y'all got spots. Like I can't say I've never danced down in Lexington. I bet there's a couple spots. College Town. It's on everyone's bucket list. I always tell all the single dudes, I'm like, yo, you want to pull numbers? You want to meet some ladies? Go to salsa night somewhere, because on every woman has it on their bucket list. I don't know. There's something about the sensuality, the elegance, and of course I'm generalizing. If you generalize, you're always wrong. I do like stereotypes though, especially when they're funny. But I always tell them, go do that. So I bet there's a pretty good scene. You're gonna have some amazingly beautiful college co-ed. She's a junior, and she just wanted to go give it a try, and you meet her.
Now, something that I hate to admit, because this happened, I have a college friend that lives in Louisville now. We went to an amazing Cuban restaurant because Louisville has this like wealth of like Cuban restaurants. And I was like, I live in Austin, Texas, right? And so, I mean, I think some of our food is really good from like other countries. Man, I was shocked at the Cuban food. I mean, it's obviously not like Miami, the best Cuban food that's not in Cuba. But it was actually, for it to be like in Kentucky, some random, because when I'm home in Lexington, I don't have Mexican food. It makes my friends really, really mad. And I'm like, I live in Texas and there's literally nothing here. Now, I'm not saying there aren't Mexican restaurants that people from Mexico live there and cook there, but I just had to give it up when I started going back home to Kentucky. I was like, no, I reserve the food for Mexico and when I'm in Texas. That's what. Cuban food in Louisville was amazing.
No, I can't say I've done a lot of eating. I think one or two of the socials that I've been to, I thought was in a Cuban restaurant. So they'll do that. So like a lot of restaurants will do that. We don't buy drinks. We don't buy a lot of food because we're there to dance. I'm there to sweat out shirts. But it does drive through traffic, and I don't live there. So I'm not really going to come back to eat. But I guess, for the locals, they go, oh, this is a cool spot. We should come back and partake in the future. So I think I might have been in one or two. I'll have to rack my brain, go back and look through some social media posts, like you and Gertrude and Betsy, I got Facebook. And so I'm sure I got a Facebook post from here and there.
Oh, hilarious.
So lawn bowling, you translate your lawn bowling skills to cornhole here in Texas. Am I right?
Lawn bowling? What is lawn bowling?
Okay, just checking. Just thought I'd throw an old person game out there. See if you bit. You didn't bite on that.
Is.
All right.
I don't know
okay.
What that is.
Just thought maybe you knew that. Lawn darts. You ever played lawn darts?
I think you're making up games. You're making up games.
So the smooth face can't fool us. The old name Smooth Face, you are not an old, because I wasn't going to ask you your age, but Francis, you probably about 89. But anyway, unless are you a vampire? Can we go ahead and breaking news right now?
Vampire. If you want to know how old I am, I will tell you. I'm not ashamed of how old I am.
We'll get to it. I want it to reveal itself. I want that to be the cliffhanger for everybody, because now they putting some stuff together. So she went to law school. So we're gonna give her baccalaureate attainment at 22, 3 years of law school. Right now we at least at 25, and we know you in Austin. We say you probably chirked up out of there. We'll give you a year to find a job. Nobody wanted you because you straight out of law school. So that will give you a year of that. So that's 26 by the time you came to Austin. We don't know how long you've been here. So we're going to start the math from 26.
Okay.
That's where we start. The name itself, like I said, that adds on a couple decades. But we're not going to hold that against you too much.
Couple decades. Okay.
We at 26 right now. All right. Tell us, what was it like growing up in Kentucky? Because some of us have not been there, but we feel like a lot of us, I bet, think this. At some point you owned a chicken. At your school, y'all went cow tipping.
So wait, so let me tell you. So this is a joke. This is a joke that I actually still tell to this day. I always tell people, so like, I'll get to a little bit. I grew up as a tomboy. I love sports. And then there's more to that. I'll say in a second. But I genuinely don't like wearing shoes. Like, I genuinely don't like wearing shoes.
Oh,
but I usually tell people when I talk about being from Kentucky, I'll say, oh, I didn't get my first pair of shoes till I was 6 and they had bourbon in our baby bottles. That's what it's like growing up in Kentucky. And there are people who like believe me. They're like, oh my gosh, you didn't get your first pair of shoes. No, yes, my mama would beat me if I didn't have shoes on. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I wore shoes and they did not put bourbon in my baby bottles. But that's what I like to joke, because people be like, oh yeah, that's what that in their head. They think that's what it's like growing up in Kentucky. Well, so first of all, as you can tell, for people who are listening, I'm from Lexington. I don't have an accent, right? So there are a lot of people that I know in my circle. So I would say like I grew up like a very like in the most urban that you can be in Kentucky, because a lot of people, even people where I'm from have, very country accents. Like that all exists.
Yeah.
But I feel like I probably have a little bit of a different experience. So I have an older brother and then tons of like adopted siblings because my mother's that kind of person. But I went to a performing arts school. It's called the School for the Performing Arts, Kappa. And I went there at fourth grade, so at 9, and I was in Scapa until I graduated high school. So my joke always was that I was going to be a dancing lawyer, and you'll find out I actually never became a dancer. And although I am a licensed attorney in Kentucky, my definition of practice is I did some legal stuff throughout my career, but never really been a practicing lawyer. So I think going to the performing arts school that I went to definitely isn't your typical Kentucky education. I think that sometimes I was very fortunate to probably have the experiences that I did. I think my brother, who did not go to the performing arts school, had a very different experience with school and people and being the only Black kid in your classes and stuff like that. It was just a little bit different. My performing arts school probably had more people of color just because, people of color are naturally gifted and were also a part of my school. But yeah, I would say, we have all the typical Kentucky things. People have farms, people have all that stuff, but I didn't really. I lived in a normal neighborhood with a cul-de-sac, but it was all Black. I will say I lived in an all Black neighborhood. I was very fortunate to grow up. That is not very common, but in Lexington, there are a couple of neighborhoods that were just like that. But some of that's because of segregation, right? So when you go downtown in Lexington, we still have Cheapside and Upper Street, and that is for slaves. That Cheapside is for the cheap slaves, and Upper Street is for the more expensive slaves. So and one thing that really shocked me, so I went to Tuskegee University, a historically Black college, and the thing that was always so fascinating to me is that my classmates, yes, the Golden Tigers, my classmates who were from Georgia or different parts of the Confederacy, all of their history wiped out, right? But when I grew up, we went to plantations, we went to, because they're still there, and we went to so many things that existed because Kentucky was technically not a part of the Confederacy, those pieces of history were not destroyed. Now, obviously today it might be good if some of those places were here so people could learn what not to do. But I think one of the cool things about Kentucky is the breadth of history that exists there because it wasn't destroyed. And so while it makes people uncomfortable going on a plantation as it does, it also shows and explains why these things were bad. So there is a lot of things in Kentucky that still stand because it wasn't officially a part of the Confederacy and things weren't destroyed.
Okay, you just gave me, I'm a big history nerd. So when I'm done with this, so hurry up because I got to go get to this. I got to know. Now, I do know, West Virginia for a lot of time was the start of the wilderness. That was the Western limits. And I think those people that went beyond that were sporadic. And that's another reason why Kentucky wasn't as inhabited and didn't have that kind of cachet. But now I want to go look it up. And so I'm very interested in that. So thank you for that. I jotted down some more because I wasn't done with them stereotypes of Kentucky. Now that I know you from there. So if you'll allow me, you've been smiling. You got a great smile. I feel some good energy. So I think you'll let me go through these and until you get mad and then you cut off your camera. And ain't nobody ever hung up on me on the pod before.
And if you miss some, I might bring in some of my own. So let me hear them.
So I want to get to those. But this is so exciting, man. I don't know. I feel pressure. I've never said that. We are 191 episodes in. I have never said I feel so much pressure because I don't know if I can get this all in a minute, in an hour. I have gone over an hour with certain people here and there, but man, this is gonna be tough. All right, so everything you said was wah 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 wah. Wait, how do they sound? How does teachers sound in Charlie Brown? After you said that you ain't like wearing shoes, so we gonna start there. First of all, Francis, you can't tell people you from Kentucky, live in Texas, Oh, that's a stretch. And start with you. You didn't like to wear shoes. You are perpetrating.
No, I still don't like to wear shoes. I mean,
Okay,
I wear them.
Do you have on shoes right now?
No, I'm in my house. Come on now. People who wear house shoes all day in their house, that's wild to me. Now, if I'm in someone else's house, I'll at least ask, could I take off my shoes?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Since I became an adult and I travel, I at least now wear socks with most of my shoes. But sometimes I used to wear shoes, no socks. And if I took my shoes off, I'm barefoot.
Yo, I'm not even gonna lie. I think I'm a little bit older than you, but my dad used to like Miami Vice. And so I watched a lot of Miami Vice and reruns. And so Crockett and Tubbs was so cool in Miami. And you rocking those Crockett or those Tubbs shoes, and Don Johnson ain't having no socks. And so I like that. Like some karate shoes with no socks. Like that's my feeling, that's my vibe. But I ain't gonna lie, it's the peer pressure of people like judging you and stuff, which is why I wear a lot of socks. But yeah, I would prefer not to. Like I would go straight my skin in them shoes. They my shoes. Y'all ain't gotta wear them.
Here's the thing, and I don't know what the study's called, but people who sleep with socks, they say it's a trait of a serial killer. But 2, your body can't regulate itself. You're supposed to not be having socks on when you sleep in.
Wait a minute. What if some people listening now realize they might be a serial killer and they want to ask questions? Would you allow them to ask you questions and then you not judge them?
No, I'm saying it's crazy to wear socks when you sleep in. What you need them for?
I mean, define serial. I mean, maybe I've had a hand in like 2 people going missing.
I don't want to have to report you or called out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right, because that's plausible deniability. Look at her. She putting the legal hat on.
But back to shoes. Listen, people. The reason why Kentuckians don't wear shoes, why I don't wear shoes, it's because you got to be free. Don't be restricted. Don't wear those foot prisons. Huh? Don't be wearing those foot prisons all the time.
Man, stop. Y'all ain't. She acting like y'all in Midwest California. Y'all ain't got those Cali vibes. We don't wear shoes. We're so free ranging, dude. Like, we don't. No, y'all ain't got them kind of vibes. See what you tried to do there. Okay, how about this next one? I want to go back to the lack of accent, because I was going to tell you the stereotypical Kentucky would have it, but you don't have it. And I'm going to say, girl, you lived pretty close to UK, didn't you? Like you could walk to that campus from your house, I'm guessing.
No.
Because I don't know how big Lexington is, and I thought it was smaller. But because that's what I thought. You were influenced, like that area is influenced by it's a national draw school. So it's influenced
for sure.
by all the people. Like you got a bunch of people from New York and Arizona that would move there, and that's what I thought. But so you're saying the majority of the reason is that performing arts school kind of took that accent from you?
Yeah, because I would say like that, and like because I know plenty of Black people who have accents. Like it's not a race thing, right? Like I wouldn't say it's because I went to a Black church. Like I don't think it's anything like that. Like I feel like it's also like we didn't have any family on my mom's side who's from Kentucky. My dad's side, who's from Georgia, had family in the country. Like a lot of people have family that's still in the country. We just did it. And and I think that has a little bit to do with this. So my grandmother, this is going to be a little boring, but I'll just tell you this real quick. So my grandmother, who I'm named after, Frances, she didn't go past 8th grade. And she started this tradition that I'm super proud of. This is why I'm bringing it up. It's called the hanging of the tassels, right? And so we have this really big family tradition where my uncle got a GED and my oldest aunt, and they actually got their tassels at the same time. And started this huge tradition where everybody that graduated from high school and then more school we had this tradition where we got together and you hung the tassel. It was a really big deal. Like when I got to hang my first tassel, and we have over 50 tassels now. And so I do think a lot of our family, just like when I think about some of my cousins who still have accents, like who had different grandparents, some of them still live in the country. So I do think we just got out of the country and are in, quote unquote, the city, which feels weird because Kentucky really isn't that big. But I don't really have that much family in the country. And I think that probably has a little bit to do with our lack of accent.
Frances Leigh Jordan, you are an amazing person. I want you to be my friend. This is so much fun. I would love to hang out with you. But so in that vein, in a friendly back and forth, which you seem to be tolerating, girl, ain't nobody gonna allow you to be like, yo, I'm city folk and you from Lexington, Kentucky. Like the rest of us, we're not gonna give you that. We ain't giving you that. Nope. Do y'all have a city bus, or is there a horse-drawn carriage with your World Equestrian Games having? What's the public transportation?
Oh, yeah. Not only is there public transportation, I taught my nephew, who's 12 years old, how to ride the bus. Listen, it's almost 400,000 people who live in Lexington. So I lived, just so I can give you some more information about how old I am, because I'm going to tell you some other things. I actually lived in Indiana for 2 years.
No, I did too.
I lived in Indiana for 2 years, and I lived in a small town that had 70,000 people, okay? Lexington isn't a small town. It's not a small city. It's almost 400,000 people. It is nowhere near like New York, LA. Like, it's not a big city, but it's not a small city. It's not a small town at all.
I gotta fix my face. 400,000. I was not
almost.
expecting that.
It's like three something. Yeah,
and
400,000 is pretty big. Also the real big thing. This is what I don't know if you've had in your 191 people. I don't know how many people you've had from Kentucky. The biggest thing is that people don't leave Kentucky a lot. That is actually the issue. Like, when people think about why people have these stereotypes, is that people people are from Kentucky. They stay in Kentucky. There are people who move from other places that live. Like, Kentucky's just a place where a small percentage just go and do other things. That's the real issue. People love it and they stay there.
You keep doing this stuff that distracts me. I've never been so distracted on a pod episode because everything you say after these things is just walk. Because what you mean people don't leave Lexington, Kentucky?
Why not? Not Lexington.
What's wrong with Kentucky? Even my homies in Louisville, I would say this to them: why y'all still here? Why?
Yeah, it's just because community is the most important thing, and you got lots of it there. You just got in Kentucky. Like, it's like, so anyways, I think some of that is all just because people stay. I knew I wasn't gonna stay.
Man, you're doing great here. Okay, how about this? Let's go back to the performing arts school. You lived the real life Glee? Like, I feel like you were the black girl in Glee. Insert black girl here. It's friend. That's why you got that name. You changed your name. Your real name is Quanisha, and you changed it when you got to that performing arts school.
So my performing arts school is not as famous. It's actually spelled the same as the one that don't make fun of me when I say this. So they have a similar performing arts school in Cincinnati, and like Nick Lachey and the guys from 98 Degrees, they went to that one. And there are famous people who went to my school that were famous on the Broadway circuit, but I don't know their names because they were younger than me. So don't ask me. I don't know their name. But I was a dance major. So I did musicals and stuff like that, but I more so was a choreographer. But yeah, so in elementary school, you do it like 3 days a week, but in middle school, you do it every single day. And then in high school, so from 4th to 8th grade, we're literally especially when I was there, we were in our own school. I didn't go to school, and we didn't have sports or cheerleading. There were people who legit left to go play sports and do cheerleading, which I don't know if you know this. There's been lots of ESPN shows. Cheerleading is actually really big in Kentucky. Like, people were like, they wanted to be on that like competition circuit and would leave, which is wild. And then, but in high school, we did it every day, but we went to a regular high school. So I got to be there when my high school won the championship, the state basketball tournament, and we have football and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was like real stuff. And then like in high school is when so I have a couple friends who live in New York who are in the industry, had friends who went to LA, went there, but they didn't stay. but with all of that, like people competing for like the top stuff and the musicals and things of that nature. And so, so yeah, that is kind of what I.
So you were the dance major. I'm thinking you ain't got no pipes. So you're in a production and you're doing your little bop, 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 and you get a little too close to the front. And they gotta, man, get back, girl. You can't sing. This
So I had a solo. So for those who don't know, Grease, the musical version of Grease, Cha Cha, who I was, has a solo, and I sang it. I sing just fine. I ain't Whitney now, but I can carry it too. But it's mostly because both my parents can't sing, so I think I was blessed with just a little bit. But no, I wasn't a singer for real. I mostly. Practice. Yeah. And the dance circuit was very separate from the musical circuit because you had to be in drama and you had to be able to sing to kind of do that. And I was more like focused on legit dancing. Like I thought I was going to go to performing arts college and everything. I went and auditioned and did all of that stuff. But ultimately decided to go in political science and went to Tuskegee. So.
Yo, Francis. Let's link up in Austin and go dance. Let's go south dancing. Let's do some Latin.
So you're gonna hate this. I don't like partner dancing.
Oh.
It's a thing. It's just a thing.
It's true. No, I danced with some ladies that showed up and they didn't have self-awareness like you. And then we're fighting. We're like arm wrestling on the girl. There's a leader and a follower, and you're not allowing yourself to be led. And it is ugly. So I'm glad you got self-awareness.
Well, and I would like when I say like I was a good dancer and I love dancing, but I really was a choreographer. So like I like to improvise. And so it's not a matter of like, it's not the control part. It's I like to improvise. That's like my nature. So being in something where I'm not improvising, it's less that I don't want to follow. It's that I always, if I'm dancing today, I always want to be improvising and all that kind of stuff. So like Body Rock. Have you ever heard of Body Rock? They just had Body Rock is this dance couple. It's by Riders Against the Storm. You know Riders Against the Storm?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so they've been doing Body Rock has it been 14 years? It's going to be 15 years. And so they did this before they won all their Austin Music Awards. So I don't know. Don't get mad at me, Kidada. But they do this thing where like, especially when they were at Empire, they used to be on stage and they used to call people up and like they do fake double dutch and people get to dance and like I try not to go because they usually call me up on stage and I'll just do whatever. That's the kind of stuff I love. Okay. Like I love it. Like it's like you just doing whatever. It's just a hype thing.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I do a lot of social dancing. I show up, I'm there by myself and I'm looking around. I go up to people and ask them to dance. And I've come across some, let's say, individual dancers, performance dancers. Let's just call you guys that. Sorry if that's not what y'all call yourselves. But I can tell because you're supposed, as a good leader, you're supposed to feel your partner out and you give them moments for solos. That's and true. You can tell, so you give them a spin and release and then step back, you do yours and you're just paying attention. And yeah, you could be like, all right, chick, you gotta start wearing it down now. I'm about to come back in. Okay, can I grab your hand now? No, can't get back in there yet. She's still going. I gave her a spin that was good enough for one revolution. Old girl done did about 4 or 5. so yeah, but you are supposed to feel that out. And yeah, you just keep letting them go because it is rude in the salsa scene at socials. It's rude, even if you're with someone who's a bad dancer that doesn't smell good, that is too grabby, whatever the bad things are, you're supposed to finish the song. Like that's the rule, is to finish the song. So just get through it. So yeah, you might have to get that person about 5 or 6 solos because clearly they haven't exhausted all their bullets, their repertoire. They got more moves they ain't did yet. They want to crump to
maybe. Maybe when I get to Gertrude's age, I'll be ready to partner dance because I'm not going to want to improvise because I won't be able to groove like that. So maybe there's some salsa dancing in my future.
Do is tango. That's what the old heads do. we put that little rose in your mouth. That's about all you're gonna get to do. All right, let me get to another one. The stereotype. This was a stereotype. Your grandparents ever make any moonshine? They
I
got
was
any
waiting.
stories?
That was the one I was gonna ask.
I'm just
So,
saying.
my
You got a
grandfather,
cousin.
who I never got to meet, was a
Yeah.
bootlegger.
There it is.
And
Oh my God.
I think I love telling this story because this was a story of my generation. One of my closest friends went to a wedding where they had moonshine, and like, because I was in a goody two shoes kind of group. We didn't really like drink or do drugs in high
Yeah.
school. And they went to this wedding with moonshine. This is like a typical Kentucky story, and everything was fine. Then somebody went to the car and got some moonshine. By the end of the night, the families was fighting each other, and they weren't even mad. They were just drinking moonshine. So I mean, yes. So yes, my grandfather was a bootlegger, made moonshine. Yeah, it's
Ain't that wrong? Ain't that wrong? I'm just curious. And I done spent. Now these are loaded. This I can't say the average person gonna have all these, but I've spent a lot of time in Kentucky, so I'm also offering some stuff that I have acquired. How many pairs of denim overalls do you have?
Oh wow. I've been in Austin for some years now, and so all of my denim overalls no longer exist in my closet. But I used to have multiple pairs.
Oh, we know.
Shorts. Wait. Jean overalls and shorts and in pants. And the real reason why I don't have them is like when I see people in overalls with jeans in Texas, I'm like, it's too hot for that. It's too hot. Too hot.
Oh, you was fancy though with the overall with shorts. The old heads was like, girl, you better put some legs on those overalls. You can't do no yard work. You can't get down on your knees.
I love overalls. Overalls are great.
You said you lived in like a predominantly black area. Was y'all in the Kentucky Black Wall Street? Like what area did y'all have over in Lexington?
Yeah, so they're all different names. There's about 3 or 4 names. Oakwood Estates, which is where we were from. Oakwood Estates or St. Martin Village. It was just, you got to remember, as I was mentioning earlier, some of these neighborhoods were because of segregation, and the families were just kind of pushed to the side, and so they're all around each other. But gentrification is changing that. So
yeah, we know that. Yeah. You ever picked any cotton?
No.
Okay. All right.
Nor have I picked tobacco, which is more of the thing that happens in Kentucky. So we don't really pick. People don't really pick, but like my uncle, he picked tobacco, and he had a job, but he also picked tobacco.
Did it pay good? Was he happy with the?
Oh yeah, I mean the reason that my uncle was a man of many talents, but he picked it as a side job because of the money, and then he figured out as he got older how to get a group of younger guys to go pick tobacco for him, and then he'd get money. So yeah. And then but that was before all of the the lawsuits. They paid him.
Did you just dry snitch on your uncle that he was out here pimping young backs, and he figured out the game?
He did a lot of things. He did a lot of things that were illegal. Oh my God, illegal back then.
Hey, work smarter, not harder. Them young bulls want to run. You let them run, and if they don't know any better, that's what you gotta do. Growing up, how many cars did you have in your front yard that didn't run?
Listen, the most number of cars that my parents have had at once, but they weren't all their cars.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's go. Let's do it.
I would say only. So we were better. There are only. So here's the thing. The most we probably had was 4.
Right.
But it was mostly 3. But here's the thing. The neighbors across us had 2 cars in front of them that they didn't use. The neighbors had some car. Like there are multiple people on the street.
So it might not have been you, but you were in the proximity. Your neighbor.
Remember, there's multiple people. And then here's the thing. It's crazy. Like a few years ago, a drunk driver in our neighborhood's like super safe. This is why, hit one of the cars that doesn't move, like that doesn't there. And so then like people started moving. There are a lot less cars on the streets these days than there used to be because, this younger generation.
Yo, distracted driving is real. I'm a motorcycle rider. I know. I can see somebody weaving in front of me, and I always pull up next to them. Not any kind of road rage thing, but I just gotta know because I'm like, I bet they text me on my phone. They on their TikTok, and I pull up, and I see it head down, and you can tell they trying to do it, and I just because I gotta get away from them. But to myself, I was just like, I got to. Yeah.
Any more stereotypes?
Maybe you didn't grow up in one, but maybe you went over your cousin's house. How many mobile homes you lived in?
Nah, we didn't live in no mobile homes, but I went to a birthday party too in them. I actually went to more mobile homes when I went to school at Tuskegee.
Oh, yo, that's for me. You know, I'm an East Coast dude, Mid-Atlantic area, but I went to school in Florida, and I was on the coast. And when we had hurricanes, I went inland. And I remember I went to Tampa and stayed to get away from the storm. And one of my homies, their family had a mobile home. And this thing was decked out. It even had a hot tub up in it. Like, I was impressed.
So growing up in Kentucky, mobile homes were considered a bad thing. But when I lived in Indiana and when I lived in Alabama, it wasn't really considered a bad thing, right? There were people who lived in them because, you know, if you're not buying a house and you're renting, there's nothing wrong with renting a mobile home, right? Like, so I definitely think the perception really just depends on where you are. It was always seen down in Kentucky, but that's just because there was a lot of, I don't want to say, I don't know, but I lived in enough places where it didn't really matter. All kinds of folks lived in them, but when I was in Kentucky, it was like, you know, the other side of the tracks kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I know. No, I ride for the mobile homes after that experience, and because by no means were these people less than, as the stereotype or I guess people would assume. That was just, and they gave me the master room. And I was like, yo, this joint got a king size bed. I got a bay window right there. Air condition was lit. They had a little fireplace. Yo, I'm telling you, man, this thing was decked out. It was awesome. I didn't want to go home. I was like, hey, we gonna shelter in place. But the storm is you know how the storm, like, it'll stay in one place instead of keep moving. I like, did it stop? Oh, it didn't stop. Dang, we had to go home. We ready to go home? Dang. But it was nice. So. But I had to ask that. This is the last one. Okay. Hey, Francis, did you ever raft down the Mississippi?
No.
Oh. Well, now
mostly because, and this is how I feel about. So for people who are listening who live in Austin, there's one of the most popular things that I have never done. I don't paddleboard. I don't sit on top of water. If there's water and there's a boat, I am off the boat and in the water. So I don't like to raft. I don't want to raft on top of water down the thing. Now, if it's a place I can swim, like, I like to be in water, not on top of water.
That's great. So
I might just be in the house.
Francis, you've this has been a blast. You've got great energy. I'm just kind of curious on some things here. Like, what's your circle like? You know, you lived in Alabama, you lived in Indiana, you're from Kentucky, and now you're in Austin. What's the circle like now? Like, are you at some point today, did you have a Stanley Cup in your hand? Did you eat at Panera Bread at any point this week so far? You know, what's the circle? What's your crew like here in Austin?
I was not offended by the Stanley Cup comment. I do have a couple friends who love hockey, but Panera is an abomination, and I don't really care who I offend. So I am a coffee aficionado. So that is disrespectful because I only do local coffee shops, as most could, unless you need to go to Starbucks because you're in a small town, you're in a small place. Go to Starbucks or McDonald's. That's fine. If you have to. But I would say I have a very eclectic group of people. One of the things that I feel like I was afforded to, so Lexington's very similar to Austin in that I was in a very liberal city in a very conservative state. So that's very similar to where I am now. I grew up in a very religious family. I actually was I grew up pretty conservative. I was conservative when I lived in Indiana. And then, I moved to Texas. Everything's crazy in Texas when it comes to politics. And so my family the funny part is that I'm probably middle of the road, a little moderate, but my family thinks that I'm a bleeding liberal just because they're so I have a very eclectic group of folks. I would also say my upbringing, being in a performing arts school, I feel like with race and different things. So I was in the legal part of my life as I did civil rights. So I did civil rights for 2.5 years in Indiana. And that's what I was doing when I moved to Texas. And so I did civil rights for maybe another 1.5 years. And so race was very much a part of who I am. And so I don't really code switch. And so I'm very fortunate to have a very diverse group of friends, right? So I don't know. Like, I feel like I hang out with, I'm starting to ramble, but I will say, I was involved with the Austin Justice Coalition. I ran the operations and the development for that as a volunteer for 7 years. In the last 2.5 years, I served as the board chair. And so very much around very progressive people of color. And then I also am a very active member of the Austin Stone, which is, for those of you who know, it's a Christian church was founded, 20 years ago. And so it is a part of an evangelical line. And so I feel like sometimes, like when I was at AJC, they used to joke that I was the Wall Street person of the group. So I'm very much like in a bunch of different circles at that. And I think that lends to my background, because I think I mentioned I was a tomboy. I love sports. I'm just all over the place.
Well, no, that's why I asked if you lived on Black Wall Street. And I told you I like you. And so I'm going to go ahead and offer something. I'm going to read you and offer something you may not know. I think people using you, Francis Leigh Jordan. So you said that you're a board chair for the AJC, the Austin Justice Coalition.
I was.
You want to know why they made you a chair? Because that name, everybody using you because that name. You put that name up there. She ain't got no accent. She got a law degree. Man, we can't get you to the front of the line fast enough.
That's hilarious. That's actually funny.
I'm just saying. It's mostly, everybody's like, hey, girl, you want to come in? And everybody opening their door to you. There's a reason.
It's because I be volunteering, though. That's how I get in my
predicament. Going to church, you're like the person we need. They don't want the rest of these weirdos in Austin. They want you. You're the front piece.
Hilarious.
Let's put her on the literature. That name though, because the name is like legit. And then you can put JD. Do you do that in your signature block, Francis Leigh Jordan JD?
So if you look at me on LinkedIn, I have Esquire because I am a licensed attorney. My license is still active in Kentucky against my better wishes. And then I wanted to get rid of it, but my aunt, who was a lawyer, she wouldn't let me let it lapse. Like 1 year she paid for it. I felt bad because she spent her money to make sure. So I still pay my dues. But generally I put JD. Mm-hmm.
I got a question. When everybody in your family know that you got that JD, when you show up to the cookout, everybody want to talk to you about some stuff, right? Yo, Francis, my girl just put my stuff out in the corner, man. She can't do that, right? That ain't legal, is it?
So I will tell you, it's always been my friends more because my aunt, who I wanted to go to law school afterwards, she recently passed away last year. So before that, she got all the questions. And this year, this is the first year, one of my cousins messaged me about some contract part, and I was like, what the heck are you asking me for? But
because you're civil rights. But nobody cares. No one cares.
But I will say now, I would say since I've been out of law school, my friends in general have always been the ones that have asked. I don't mind though, right? Because I think if I practice law, I would be. But so my actual day job now isn't legal related in any way. So I don't mind actually doing legal stuff because I still like it, especially contracts, which is generally what people really have questions about. And like whether it's marriage, whether it's like estates and trust. I mean, it's still a little contract related. If it's something like I really have no idea, I'm like, listen, if you got the money, hire you a lawyer.
Okay. I told you, I already floated out there. I was like, yo, let's hang out. You're really cool. So I don't want this to be one-sided. You know, I want you to be my friend. Hopefully you want, would you like for me to be your friend, Francis?
Yeah, sure.
You see what I did there? I just got a verbal contract. So now we're friends. And since you're friends, can ask you stuff. Hey, look, so I've been married 10 years coming up here in August, and I want out. Can you get me out?
Stop.
What? She ain't here right now. So, like, there's got to be something in the contract. Like, there's got to be something, right?
Well, all I know is you live in Texas, right?
Yes,
you got to get out before you hit 10 years. That's all I got to tell you. Before your common law hits.
Yo, I really didn't know that. Oh, well, now I'm good. But that's funny, though. I didn't know. That's cool. I bet a lot of people don't. Well, maybe they do know that. Like,
well, and here's the thing: if I'm not mistaken, if you all lived together and lived a certain kind of way before you got married, I think that adds to your 10 years, so you actually could get over the 10 years common law thing.
Oh.
Just FYI, I think that's the case. Hey, listen, I don't know the laws these days, but I'm pretty sure that's the case in Texas. So don't quote me. Don't quote me. I ain't charged.
So you're nice about it when people. That was all fake, by the way. I love this lady. I'm good. But does that happen a lot? Like, and when it happens, I mean, like, you get mad and be like, man, you could Google that. Like, I ain't Googling.
No one asks me really dumb stuff, but because Austin is an entrepreneur place, I probably get asked by entrepreneurs as much as I can. Like, NDA stuff is something that people often ask me about. I don't mind talking about it just because I don't mind. Sometimes people ask me about prenups. People ask me about will stuff. And all that stuff is like, I'll tell them something and then be like, go look it up or go hire an attorney because you need one, right? So it just depends on what it is. And then contract stuff, I will look at a contract for someone just because it's kind of interesting and like there's not that much, it's not that difficult to do that piece. So I don't mind, like I said.
Okay, I just got arrested, but I know Francis Leigh Jordan. I get that one phone call. I call you up.
Don't call me.
What do you do? There it is. I was gonna say, do you take the call or can you stay on the call?
It depends on what you did. Depends on what you did. I can't listen. You got to call somebody that's practicing law if you did something legit. Like, cause I can't get you out.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. Maybe I don't want you to be the friend. I was sizing you up for. I mean,
I'm just saying, like, you should call someone.
Activities.
Now, if you need someone to help you pay your bond, I'd probably be more of a.
Yeah. Look, Francis, we're at the end, and I had a lot of fun. I am curious though. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about? You know, I gave you a little shout out. You know, we called it the elephant in the courtroom. I don't think we know what you're doing over there. We know. But you know, was there anything else? You know, man, I wish I did want to talk about like some of the things that you follow, like some of the.
One thing I can tell is what I actually do today, since I'm not a practicing lawyer. I think it's super important. It's also because I've come to terms with what I do, and so I like to share being a woman of color. So I work in infrastructure. I work in transportation. And so I actually work for one of the largest engineering firms called AECOM. And what I do is I get to talk to the people about major projects. And so if you live in Austin and you've driven on I-35, that was my project for over 2.5 years, where I worked with the community leaders, organizations to get input about the improvements that are coming to I-35. It was a very background role. A lot of people didn't realize I did that, but, you know, because there's a lot of people upset about the project, but, you know, we worked hand in hand with advocates, people who still don't want the project, but their input was super important. So it is a kind of a boring job, but it's also really exciting. And being a woman of color is super important because so much of that stuff goes into our communities and gentrification and hurts all of those things. And so I'm super proud to kind of do that as my day job and actually brought other people of color into the space. So that's kind of what I do on the day job, on my day-to-day stuff.
Now we are curious. I mean, you know, with that law degree, because that's where everybody wants to go to. I know it because I have a lot of fraternity brothers that have and friends.
Oh, you're in a fraternity. You didn't even share that. How you gonna just drop? I'm in a fraternity.
Wait.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
My brick. You see that brick up there?
I could tell. I mean, I don't know if Donato is your government name, but you see that you Kappa, your name kind of leads to that.
You read it correctly. In 1911. So, if anyone would like to follow, you did say like you're on LinkedIn, but the socials, how can they stay in touch and keep up with this great personality?
Yeah, so my Twitter and my Instagram are the same. The DST Lawyer is my handle. Frances Leigh Jordan full name is on LinkedIn. You can probably can't find me on Facebook. Way back when you could like make yourself less available, I did that. And so like you literally cannot search me sometimes and find me on Facebook unless you're friends with my friends. And so it's an L dot. If you want to put Frances L. Jordan, you might find me if we're friends with other people. But otherwise, I'm unfindable, and I don't know how to undo that. So it's awesome for me because I don't get that many random folks adding me on Facebook, which I don't. I'm too old for the TikTok, so I'm not on the TikTok, and you shouldn't be. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. I'm joking. I'm joking. You be on the TikTok if you want to. I love the clips from it. I'm just joking.
What about Threads? Does Threads get you?
Yeah, I'm on the DST Lawyer on Threads because they, you know, Mark Zuckerberg let us keep. They it's the same as Instagram, so that's the only reason why I still have that. So I'm on Threads, but I don't ever get on Threads. So.
Oh, okay, all right. Look. Frances Leigh Jordan, FLJ. I knew it, but you never know it until we get into it. But this was fun.
Awesome. The only thing that I really miss is that we didn't talk about no sports, but that's okay. Oh, if you want to message me about sports, no, I'm just kidding.
No, I do sports episodes. I do a FM radio show here in town. On Fridays, I cover sports here with, do you know Corey Mose from KView?
That name sounds very, the answer's probably yes.
He's an Omega Psi Phi too. Yeah. Omega Psi Phi, he's a Q-Dog. So we do it together with another gentleman. But yeah, how about I bring you back on one of the next sports episodes that I do?
Yes.
That would be fun. Okay.
Yes. So.
Hey, no, I'm with it. You already said it. And then since you're from Kentucky, you lived in Lexington, it sounds like we can get into some college stuff too. Some people can't go with me.
All sports, and I watch all sports but hockey, all major sports but hockey and NASCAR. Okay. Actually, and I got to go to a NASCAR race this year at F1. So I knew a lot more about NASCAR than some of the white people that I was with, and everyone was shocked. And I was like, it's because I'm from Kentucky. I know my NASCAR history.
No, I was at the Daytona 500, the Pepsi 400 every year from 97 to 2001. So I got a free ticket, and it was and it was also unlimited. I met Dennis Green when he was trying to buy in on Dodge. Britney Spears was there. Dan Marino, shook all their hands, talked with them. I met a lot of celebrities. But what I do pass along to people, it's not as redneck or backwards as people think it is. Yeah. The people were nothing but friendly to me. And I was there for 4 years. So don't be like, oh, you went once. And nah, I was there for 4 years. I was there when Dale Earnhardt died.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oof.
I'm telling you, the people it was fun. And I'm not a fan.
Yeah, well, I'll just shout out the Cleveland Browns. I'm a season ticket holder, and I'm an Austin FC season ticket holder. Those are things I ride and die for. I like other sports, but I am a member of the Dog Pound, Go Brownies, and so I will end there.
Okay. Well, thanks again for coming on. Have a great rest of the day.
You too.